Across the Ultimate Fighting Championship as the GOAT of the Octagon, there's no doubt that Brazilian-American mixed martial artist Anderson Silva has more fans than we can count. And with a long fighting career under his belt, and fellow fighters like John Jones begging to get him in the ring, it's no surprise that his bank balance is just as large as his reputation. But what does somebody like Anderson Silva spend his hard-earned cash on, and what is he worth at that moment anyway? Well, whether you're a fan of the record-breaking MMA fighter or just want to know more about one of the greatest combatants alive, you've come to the right place, as we're about to explore everything there is to know about Anderson Silva. So strap yourselves in and get ready for the bout of your life, as things are about to get interesting. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as well as hit the post notification bell so you don't miss any more updates from us. A little more about Anderson Silva. Anderson de Silva was born on the 14th of April 1975 in the state of São Paulo, Brazil, to his parents who were unfortunately poverty-stricken. Because of their terrible situation, Anderson was sent to live with his aunt and uncle in Curitiba, where his uncle was working as a member of the Curitiba police force. As a way to deal with his anger and, in a sense, make new friends in this foreign province, Anderson decided to start training in the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a bunch of kids in the neighborhood. Having been bitten by the fighting bug early on, his teenage years drew him to styles such as Taekwondo, Capoeira, and Muay Thai, which, luckily enough, were all pretty prevalent within Curitiba. His early years began in 1997 when Anderson started to fight in the Brazilian welterweight category, resulting in him achieving a pair of consecutive wins. He did, however, lose his next fight to a man by the name of Luis Azerdo, which was, unsurprisingly, the result of a points decision. After the loss, Anderson trained harder than he had ever trained before, bringing in a 9-fight streak where he either pounded the competition into submission or knocked them out in the classic TKO fashion. This caused him to be sent to Japan to compete against Shooto champion Hayato Sakuri, whom he beat in a unanimous point decision. After the full 3 rounds, Anderson was the newest Shooto middleweight champion. This had made waves because he was the first man to beat Sakuri, who had previously managed to reach a winning streak of 20 fights. In 2002, Anderson began a new phase of his career by fighting in Pride, which resulted in him defeating the former UFC welterweight champion Carlos Newton, whom he knocked to the ground and wrecked with a fury of blows, causing a win by technical knockout. Disaster almost struck after Pride 26, though, where he was dominated on the ground by Daju Takase. In fact, Anderson was so demotivated after the loss that he considered quitting MMA forever. Lucky for us, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira convinced him to keep at it, motivating him to get into better form. This new attitude brought him to Cage Rage and a selection of promotions all across the globe. Finally, Anderson found himself signed to the UFC 2006, where he was set to fight the Ultimate Fighter 1 contestant, Chris Leben. Leben was at a point where he was undefeated and had predicted in a pre-fight interview that he was going to win by knocking Anderson out. Not taking this threat lightly, Silva reacted quickly in the first round with a striking accuracy of 85%, knocking Leben out in only 49 seconds. Quite the UFC debut, if we say so ourselves. Anderson then went on to defeat Rick Franklin, making him the new UFC middleweight champion and second man in the world to ever defeat Franklin. Suffice it to say, Anderson had made a name for himself in the circuit. After defending his title for quite some time, Anderson then went up against fellow fighter Demian Maia, who caused Anderson to act controversially and lose the support of the crowd. Throughout the bout, Anderson appeared to mock his opponent, looking to Maia as the aggressor while he circled him in a taunting fashion. After being warned by the referee for his conduct, the crowd began to side with Maia, who was the only fighter to actually engage. After 5 rounds, though, Anderson won via unanimous decision, which caused President Dana White to say that watching the fight made him feel the most embarrassed he had ever been as president of the UFC. Regardless of this, there is no doubt that Anderson's reign as champion was record-breaking to say the least, regardless of how he may have achieved the wins. In 2013, stuff started to go a bit downhill for the champion, who, even after retiring, decided to take on Chris Weidman at UFC 162. After showboating for most of the match, Anderson caught the back end of a wind-up and ended up being beaten by knockout, ending his streak as the longest title reign in UFC history. This didn't stop Anderson from taking on endorsements and participating in a few more fights, though, which has resulted in his net worth being around $18 million. This is enough to enable any ordinary person to retire 10 times over. So, how did he spend his hard-earned cash? It's California home. If there's one asset that wealthy celebrities and the like choose to spend the majority of their money on, it's a home. This isn't just the place you can go and relax or quarantine. It's also one of the greatest investments someone can make. Immovable property almost never depreciates in value after all. In fact, as time goes by, properties tend to appreciate, being worth a lot more at around the 5-year mark than what you initially bought it for. And this is especially relevant when you can advertise the property as being previously lived in by who's considered to be the greatest UFC fighter of all time. It was this thinking that ended up leading Anderson to purchase a property in Palos Verdes estate in California, which looks more like a beautiful holiday resort than an ordinary residence. The home was initially bought for around $1.7 million in 2011, but in 2015, he decided to spring in Joseph Spear Architects to do a comprehensive remodel and renovation of the property, bringing it to the 21st century. The home now measures in at a whopping 7,100 square feet, making it spacious enough to hold Anderson, his wife Diane, as well as her 3 sons and 2 daughters. The home boasts 4 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, 3-car garage, and a large balcony with an incredible view of California. The inside is nothing less than sleek and modern, composed of bamboo flooring and lighted high-beam ceilings. It really does give off the feeling of a home catered to relaxation above all else. The home was also built on a half-acre piece of land, which consists of lush gardens, a basketball court, pool house, pavilion, and elaborate gym, which allows Anderson to stay on his game for as long as he lives. It also should be said that Anderson did commission the installation of solar panels in order to provide the home with energy, making it pretty green in the long run. Good thing too, as there's a serious amount of lighting and amenities available to the family, which would likely chew through electricity in a flash. Rumor has it that Anderson has placed this property on the market and is asking for around $4.9 million for it, showing just how much the mansion has appreciated since he bought it back in 2011. His means of transportation. From the looks of things, Anderson isn't exactly a gearhead, but there's no doubt that the vehicle he decided to buy shows off just how fast he likes to live his life. When deciding how he was going to get from A to B, Silva settled on the purchase of a Chevy Camaro SS, which is definitely one of the most expensive Chevys anyone can get their hands on. That being said, Anderson didn't want to just have an ordinary vehicle in his garage. He wanted something that would turn heads and tell a story about some of the things that he likes. Surprisingly enough, this caused him to turn to the Transformers series he had watched as a child. Now portrayed by a number of Michael Bay movies, Anderson decided to turn his Chevrolet into a lifelike replica of Bumblebee. And who better to call to make these changes than the boys and girls at West Coast Customs, who are known for making vehicle dreams into a reality in their shop. The customization of Silva's vehicle was expensive and extensive to say the least. It included a custom paint job, black striped decals running from the hood to the tail, a widened rear quarter fender with functional openings, a Silva Bee grill emblem, Silva Bee embroidered headdress, and a number of other Transformer-inspired options. While we might not know what the total cost of all of this was, there's no doubt that Silva must have forked out quite a bit to West Coast Customs, who are considered by many to be the best modifiers in the California area. Who knew Anderson was such a Transformers fan? His wedding. As mentioned earlier, Anderson is currently married to a woman named Diane, and whom has 3 boys and 2 girls. Their love story is an incredible one, with both of them meeting back in Curitiba when she was only 13 years old. Silva was 17 at the time and already a prominent MMA fighter. Despite their age difference, Anderson kept in contact with Diane, and when things were more appropriate, asked her to be his girlfriend. After being together for a full 20 years, the couple decided to finally marry one another in 2011, and with the funds in Anderson's pockets, you can imagine just how luxurious the wedding was. Diane's dress looked absolutely incredible, with the couple tying the knot in front of a large section of family and friends. It was considered by most to be the event of the decade, and for those who attended, being treated to only the best food and entertainment that money can buy. Lavish vacations. Last but not least, prior to the global health situation, Anderson Silva was known to take his family on lavish vacations from time to time. Since his children were born in the United States, he spends quite a bit of cash having them visit the ancestral home of Brazil so that they never forget their roots. He also makes sure that his family experiences as much of the world as they can, often taking vacations to European vistas and silky smooth beaches. And when you have the money to do it, why not do it as much as possible, right? What do you think of Anderson Silva's lifestyle? Let us know in the comment section down below. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later.